Welcome to Season 3 of the Predator Podcast. On this podcast, we'll talk about all things predator hunting. If you're a predator hunter or wanting to become one, you're in the right place. Here's your host, Drew Schlimm.
All right, guys, Season 3 Predator Podcast. I got an awesome guest on today, Steve Criner. I still think of him as the dog soldier because that's how I remember him, watching his TV show called The Dog Soldier. And I used to love watching his show and just some of the best video. And the guy's just a pure badass, in my opinion. So I'm pretty excited to have him on tonight. And so Steve Criner, thanks for joining me.
Hey man, thanks for having me. It's pretty cool. It actually gives me chills and makes the hair stand up on my neck when somebody thinks I'm cool and badass. You know, I worked a long time at just killing coyotes and probably people give me a little more credit than I deserve, really. But starting Dog Soldier in 2010 or 11. And I did it all the way till 2012, and then I was with Hunter Specialties. I think, man, I can't. It's so hard. It's so hard to remember this, but I'm 46 years old now. When I first started this with Hunter Specialties, I was just a young'un, and 2005, 4, somewhere around there. You know, I've been doing this almost 20 years.
Right.
And even though I'm not on TV no more, I grew up, my daddy was a truck driver. And once you start trucking, I tell everybody you can't get out, especially if you do it as a business or do it for yourself. It's just go, go, go. And you just spin your wheels and you drive and you drive and you drive. And hunting for a living is kind of like that. But if you do it right, it's definitely like that. There's guys that I hunted with and worked with at Hunter Specialties that are, like Matt Moret. He's the marketing guy for the Game and Fish in Pennsylvania now.
Right.
And, we've all moved on from Hunter Specialties, and some of us stayed in the outdoor industry, and some of us tried to stay and just didn't get it done. It's hard. When I first started with Hunter Specialties, I was just a contract killer. I made my own DVD. Man, I don't even know when I started it. It was called Calling the Dogs, and nobody's ever seen it. And it's so freaking cool. I'm thinking about that damn commercial you hear all the time. It's like, send your digital files or your old CDs or DVDs, and we'll put it on a thumb drive for you, and you can share it with your family. Bullshit, where they charge you $1,000 just. So, I don't even fucking know anybody with a DVD player anymore. So, I can't watch shit. So I'm thinking about sending all them to them people and having them put them on a thumb drive so I can I can't say regurgitate because nobody ever seen the video. Right before I come out with Calling the Dogs, Loman actually had jumped at me a little bit and wanted me to work for them and help them with this new coyote decoy they come out with. And this was a long time ago. And, of course I said no because I don't like, decoy dogs are one thing, but a standing still decoy coyote is another thing.
Yeah.
And I'm all about killing lots of coyotes. I'm about not stopping them. I'm about getting them to me. And, I sell hand calls for a living, so I want to call coyotes to me, but there's just so much to this business. And when I first started with Hunter Specialties, I was really intrigued by sales and marketing. And when somebody says that they get a rush when somebody pushes the button or signs the check, or it's never really been about money for me. But to circle back around to money, it's not been around about money for me, but it was about the career. When I first started this, it was a few years before Zoe, my oldest daughter, was born. She's 18 now. And, you know, I couldn't just go, you know, fuck off all over the country and kill coyotes and drink beer and raise hell and do all the stuff young people did.
Yep.
I just couldn't do that. I had to worry about my family. And when Hunter Specialties, Loman was jumping at me and it was an accident. Hunter Specialties found me and they're like, man, we need somebody in the East. And I'm like, well, I'm not in the East. You know, I'm in the Midwest. I'm in the Southwest Missouri is where I grew up at. And I mean, killing coyotes at that time was kind of hard. And it was mainly due to population and lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
Now Missouri is a pretty good coyote state, but long story short, they're like, well, you're East enough. We want you. And when Al Morris called me to hire me, the first question I asked him is how much it paid, because I couldn't, you know, I could justify hunting around the house and I had a successful construction company at the time. And I could justify hunting around the house and doing things like that, but I couldn't just travel all over the country every other week, you know, for free.
Right.
You know, I was an adult. When you're working for people and they're selling products that you're using, they should pay you. And, you know, not going down in the rabbit hole about everybody doing shit for free now. I think it's funny. Everybody thinks, you know, oh, what's the best call? And they say Brand X. Well, first of all, they probably not killed 10 coyotes and Brand X gave them that coyote call. So,
yeah,
you know, it never was that for me. It was totally a career. It was totally business. And it was super, I've always been so entrepreneur directed. I always wanted to make a living videoing and hunting. And when I got with Hunter Specialties, paying attention to the marketing guys and sales guys taught me that it could be done. Now, at the time, you know, they were paying me a salary. I worked for them full time. They actually owned all of us. There were 6 or 7 of us full-time guys, which was what a pro staff is supposed to be. You know, you're a professional hunter. That don't mean we're better than everybody else. Let's get that out of the way. I mean, sometimes people mistake my confidence for arrogance. I'm a super competitive guy. I've always team roped and rodeoed and fought bulls and raced motor. I've done every stupid thing a guy could ever do to compete. And, you know, it's oh man, we could go down rabbit holes after rabbit holes after rabbit holes. But when HS hired me and at the time it was just hunting and filming and making money, but they owned us. You know, if we designed a call, it was theirs. If I thought up of I actually thought up of a T-shirt one time, a turkey hunting T-shirt, and they sold it at Cabela's. That was theirs. That wasn't mine. I made a salary, didn't get commission, and that's what a professional or a pro staffer or a professional hunter was. And one of the big things I used to butt heads with Hunter Specialties a lot was they like to call me an expert. And they, you know, let's go visit expert Steve Criner at Cabela's on August 31st at pro days and blah, blah, blah. And I always hated when they put that expert word down because I was young at the time and I was still learning a lot. And me recognizing that I'm not an expert, and me recognizing that I wasn't an expert, and that's what made me succeed, because doing it for a living, I was allowed to make way more mistakes than the normal person.
Yep.
And if you learn from them mistakes, or first of all, if you don't think your shit stinks and you pay attention a little bit and you stay humbled a little bit, and I come off as not a very humble person sometimes. Like I said, you know, I'm really confident in what I do. But I am the guy that sits back and pays attention to everything and everyone. You know, I don't care that you know, some guys do the same things that I do, or that have the same mannerisms, or, you know, I'm always doing goofy shit. And if somebody wants to do goofy shit with me, they can. But it was all about the career for me. I had my kids, and I 100% worried about my family. And that's how it grew into this. And it just is like truck driving. You can't get out. And now I own an optics company, and I own a successful custom rifle company, and I own two successful online stores, coyotecalls.com and boltrifle.com, and I'm just grinding every day. And then to throw it in the mix, I own a bar and grill in Ten Sleep, Wyoming that I work at all the time, which is it's really actually cool. You know, you wouldn't think, you know, watching me on video and stuff, you never probably could picture me sitting in a kitchen flipping a burger for somebody, but I really enjoy that.
Right.
You know, it's sales and marketing and it's competition, and that's just what drives me, you know?
Yeah. So what you're saying is you got lots of free time now.
Oh, you know, I just got hundreds of hours. I drive around and I drink beer. No, I don't actually drink at all anymore. I quit in 2015, but I smoke cigars. I call coyotes. I hunt every minute of the day like TV guys are supposed to, and I'm better than everybody else. And, you know, Fox Pro gave me 20 free calls to say they were the best. You know, I'm not your typical TV guy. I like to kind of, I've always been really known for being working man orientated. I am a gadget guy, but if I think a gadget is $1,000, if I think it ain't worth $200, then I'm not going to promote it.
Right.
You know, there was a time for Hunter Specialties when they had the Scentaway products, and me and Rich Higgins and Gerald Stewart actually did extensive studies with coyotes and how they reacted to human scent. And it comes down to pressure, you know, and I actually promoted that stuff, but I always threw in there, hey, in certain situations that might buy you some time. Hunter Specialties didn't like that. They wanted me to say the coyote couldn't smell them, which was complete bullshit.
Right.
If you guys are, you know, if anybody's listening right now and you're a pro staffer because some scent company gave you a free bottle of shit and you say a coyote can't smell you, you've just lost every bit of credibility that any old timer would ever give you.
Yeah.
And I recognize that at a young age. I mean, you can bullshit your way through the industry, but if you wanna survive and you want to be on top, you can't bullshit. You just, in my opinion, you got to be the best at being yourself. I do have a lot of friends that are super good at being another person in the industry and then being super good at being someone else in personal life. And they've made it. I don't agree with that, but you know, it is what it is.
Right.
And you know, there's just so much to the industry, and that's why when people ask me to do podcasts, most of the time we go down the rabbit hole about talking about the industry more so than calling coyotes, because, you know, I mean, all you got to do is get on a Facebook page and ask how to kill a coyote, and there's 5 million experts, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You're 100% right there.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I sound grumpy and jaded sometimes, but that's not the case. It's just the no bullshit in me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I always just saw that you're honest and you just are no bullshit and, you know, take it or leave it. But it's a positive thing, you know, for me, it's like, oh, well, now at least I know what, you know, what he thinks, or if this thing is bullshit or if it's real.
Yeah. And I just always felt like, you know, I grew up really, really poor. I didn't know it at the time. You know, my parents did really good. I did come from a divorced family. My mom, you know, raised me and my sister, and we done really, really great. She done really good at raising us, but we didn't have much. You know, I didn't have, you know, custom guns and scopes. You know, I was buying Walmart Tascos and maybe killing a coyote with a deer rifle. And, you know, I just always felt like I owed something to everybody. When I started Dog Soldier, it wasn't even supposed to be Steve Criner Dog Soldier. You know, I wasn't even supposed to be the Dog Soldier. It had nothing to do with me. When I started the TV show, we're all dog soldiers, you know, and the only reason I call it Dog Soldier has nothing to do with military or Indian shit or anything like that. We're all just killing coyotes and having a good time. And I wanted to do a better show. I was one of the first guys to bring cinematographic videography to the predator hunting industry.
Yep.
we tasted up the show. We put a little bling in it, which a lot of the old timers gave me shit, at the time. I know all the old timers, Jerry Blair, he's dead now, bless his heart, but Major Boddicker and Rich Higgins and Jay Nystetter and Gerald Stewart. And I didn't know Johnny Stewart, but when I first got into the industry, Gerald Stewart taught me how to record wildlife, and that was my main job with Hunter Specialties, was recording wildlife and finding sound pirates. And I actually now own sounds of my own that Gerald has gifted me with, and they're raw. And Johnny Stewart's actually talking in the background.
Huh.
So I can actually say I've worked with Johnny Stewart, even though he wasn't here with me, but he's here, if that makes any sense. I mean, there's just so much. When people get to know me, I'm a super emotional guy. I called Sterling yesterday. Sterling's one of my guys that works for me and one of my best friends, and Jason Stearman, and I've cried to both of them. I cried on the phone with Sterling yesterday. I mean, where I'm from the South, we're really emotional type people, strong family, strong bonds, and we fight for what we believe in, and we care for everybody around us. And that's it's a curse, but it's also a gift. But and I probably could have made a lot more money if I would have just kept my freaking mouth shut and just went with the flow. But it's never been about money for me. It's been about actually trying to do something. You probably don't remember, but back years ago, there's a show called Survivor. You remember Survivor?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Well, the first girl to get naked on that show was Heidi Strobel. And me and Heidi Strobel got voted best personality of our senior class in 1997.
Wow.
And there she is on TV, and I was on TV before, we're all there, right? We're all there.
Yeah.
Me and her's there, right? Pictures pop up years ago, me and her sitting on the park bench in front of the high school, and the yearbook saying, hey, best personality, yada, yada, yada. And that was pretty cool. We kind of put little Buffalo, Missouri, where we grew up, on the map in a way. She got naked and got a Playboy deal, and now she married a California Angels pitcher, and she does really good. She's got this foundation that helps, kids that don't have families, and I didn't really do nothing besides kill coyotes on TV, but I've always, it's just where we're from. We just care about people, if that makes any sense whatsoever. And it hinders us, when Winchester fired me, I didn't just jump to another rifle company. I'm a hold my beer kind of guy, so I started building custom guns, and I've done that with several products, just like optics. I own an optics company now, Legend Precision, optics.com. It's going really good. We're not competing with any of the big box brands. We're just doing it for us and our people. And I would say it's been a success. And now we're selling a scope that's equivalent to a $2,000 scope for $900 because we sell it direct or to small dealers. We don't mess with big box. Yeah. A lot of people don't understand, I have to make so much money off of the things that I manufacture to keep the lights on and for me to be able to keep doing what I do. And if I was selling to big box, they're going to take 40 to 50 points or percent from you. And then you got to jack up your price. So I don't believe in that. And I've been to every big box table in the country. And at the time, I thought it was just great. And I was selling all these electronic calls, whether it's for Hunter Specialties or designed some for Flex Tone, or, I helped on Primo's projects. There's just so much to this industry than meets the eye. And if you can sit back and see it, you can make a lifelong vision out of it and turn it into a reality. But if you're just doing it to get your ass patted or to say you killed more coyotes than somebody else, you're just pissing up the wrong rope, and my mouth gets me in a lot of trouble, man. I said I got voted best personality of the senior class with Heidi. Well, I'll tell you right now, my heater just kicked on. If it sounds shitty, let me know. But,
you're all good.
But, 3 days before I graduated, I had been in the delayed entry program for the Marine Corps. The day I was eligible, which you can only be in there for 365, it's like 360 days or 2 days. I don't know the exact number. But you had to be able to ship before that point. So the day I qualified to be able to enlist, I enlisted, and I was supposed to ship the day after graduation. And I ran my mouth 3 days before I graduated for one of my PE teachers, and I called her something I should have, and she kicked me out of school and took my credit I needed to graduate, and it disqualified me from the Marine Corps, and I didn't graduate. So I thought, what the hell? I'll just drink beer and fight bulls the rest of my life. That's what
Right.
kids think. They
Yep.
think it's that easy. So, I do not have a high school education, which it kind of sucks in a way, but also I think it gives people hope, because a lot of young kids make bad decisions, and when they get older, I'm proof that you can do something.
Yeah.
You don't have to be highly educated to learn. You don't have to be highly educated to make a living in any industry. The only thing I wish some of these young guys that's starting to be really hot rod young guns in the predator hunting industry, I just wish they would pay attention to the business aspect of it a little more, and not, it's just, you don't really know until you do it for a living, if that makes sense. You don't really know what you've gotten into until you actually do it for a job.
Yeah.
If somebody gives you a free call and you're part of their brotherhood, and you bleed that brand, I'm talking, these are $10 to $15 million companies. These are not Steve Criner around the corner that's barely keeping the lights on. These are companies that are, digging it and doing really well, and they're not paying nobody but a few guys. It's amazing to me.
Yeah. And I also think too, like, obviously from the outside looking in, but the biggest thing too that makes you different, or that I saw that made you different, was like you did your own thing. You never followed, what someone else did, or like that's kind of like what you said. You brought the cinematography to predator hunting and stuff like that. Like you just kind of always did your own thing to try to be better or be the best at what you could do, and without really anyone else in mind, just about you being the best and or doing the best that you can, and doing it your way. And I think that's something that I've always admired, from obviously the outside looking in and not really knowing you.
Yeah, it's and I take a lot of pride in that. Like I said, if I would have kept my mouth shut, and if I would have just got on the horse and worked the cattle like everybody else, I would have done a lot better. But in my eyes, you just can't do that. I mean, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. I went through a huge divorce in 2015, and my kids moved down south with their mother, and I moved to Wyoming, and I've been humbled. Every time I think I'm on top, I get humbled. I'm not a religious person. I believe in God, but I don't think I have to pay anybody any money to get to heaven. If there is one, I'll figure it out one of these days. But being humbled so much, every time, even I'm not saying I didn't make mistakes in the industry. There's times that I thought I did stuff that was cool that was just completely douchey, and partying and drinking, and everywhere I went was a good time, and if there was a show in Waco, Texas, or anywhere, and Steve Criner was there, everybody knew there was going to be a party somewhere. I mean, matter of fact, we threw parties. Dog Soldier threw parties about everywhere we would go. We'd go into a restaurant. I remember one time in Des Moines, Iowa, it's a Big Buck Classic.
Yep.
We went into this restaurant, and we rented the back room, which was a big room. Gave them, I can't remember how much it was. Bill took care of that. We pretty much bought the back room for the night, and had there was people there I never even seen in my life, but it was a good party. We ate good and we partied, and but that's not, it's almost like, I don't want to use the rock star analogy, but it's like you think you're a rock star, but you're really not.
Yeah.
You know, hunting for a living, the only profile I have is the people that have seen me and liked watching coyote hunting. You know, 90% of the hardcore deer hunting people, the TV guys knew me, but the people that watched deer hunting only or was hardcore deer hunters, they didn't have a fucking clue who I was. You know, and the deer hunting industry is 20 times bigger than the predator hunting industry. I remember, you know, I was designing some predator calls one time and we worked on a study. The U.S. Game and Fish did a study about how much money was spent on the hunting of predatory animals, and it's not very big. It was a $30-some million industry. Well, when I worked for Flextone, they done that in fucking deer attracting. I mean, just one company.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the predator hunting industry is super, super small. And if any young gun out there right now is listening to this podcast, if you get anything from me running my mouth tonight or today or whenever you're watching this or listening to this, if you think you're going to grow up and be a millionaire from shooting coyotes, or if you think you're going to grow up and be better than anybody else, or if you think you're going to grow up and be the best coyote hunter in the world, you're not.
Yep.
Because the best coyote hunters in the world, nobody knows.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of them. Trust me. I make more mistakes than anybody, and I'm lazier than anybody. I'm a coyote hunter. But the Ed Limberleys, the Jordy Jamericks, the Randy Shaws, the Jerry Blairs, I just thank God that he was an author and had enough name and profile that I did get a meeting. And Robert F. Henderson was the first government trapper that Kansas ever hired. I knew him personally and actually hunted with Robert. And actually, I hunted by myself, but he rode around in the truck and told stories between stands. And guys, we will never, if you're in this industry thinking that anybody gives a shit how many coyotes you kill, you're wrong. Okay? These companies just want us. These companies just want us because we got eyeballs watching us shoot coyotes, and you're promoting their brand, which does make you valuable. But if you went to college and you got a marketing degree, you got a really good chance of being a marketing guy in the outdoor industry in any category you want. But if you're a hardcore predator hunter and you're a marketing guy, yeah, you got a freaking super good shot at making a living hunting coyotes and doing this for the rest of your life. But if you're not a marketing guy, if you're not a sales manager, if you're not a research and development guy, if you're not a marketing or a manufacturing consultant, shooting coyotes, you're going to get old like me. And if you don't transition sometime in your career into retail, I migrated to retail about 7 or 8 years ago because I seen all this Facebook shit happening. Every other day a new guy pops up with a show, and they called it a TV show, and it might, if you're lucky, you might be able to watch it on Facebook.
Yep.
And I started recognizing the industry going full bore, like it's getting more popular than ever. Everybody's wanting to do it. Everybody's wanting to film it. So me and my partner at the time, Bill, were like, we have to do something, because the marketing companies used to, we would get $30,000 deals to let's say, Umarex Optics, Burris Optics, Mossberg was a $30,000 deal. Flextone was a $35,000 deal. I'll tell you how bad it is. When I was with Flextone, it was a $35,000 sponsorship for a few years. It was really great. And I was designing electronic predator calls for them. And actually, I designed the FLX calls that were really great, actually. And they were doing good. But the last year I was with Flextone, they're like, yeah, we can't sponsor your show no more. And I'm like, what the fuck you mean you can't sponsor my show? My face is on your fucking box, right?
Right.
Like that's the dog soldier. I'm FLX, what the hell's going on? You can't sponsor my show. well, you're on TV, but you're getting this many eyeballs, and then you're getting this many million eyeballs throughout your platforms, social media, YouTube, yada, yada, yada. But they started recognizing that, hey, if you give a call to these people or give a call to these people, before long, they have so many eyeballs seeing their brand that the TV guys are invalid. And I'm not saying every TV guy. I mean, there's TV guys that still make a good living doing it.
Yeah.
Ralph and Vicky Cicerello, good friends of mine, they're making it, and they're always going to make it. They got a great brand, and they got a good show, and they've been here forever. Lee and Tiff, friends of mine, they're always going to be here. Nate Hosey, Randy Birdsong, they're doing really great. I don't know how long they're going to last, but nobody does.
Right.
But there's still guys making it. So don't let me completely squash your dream and say you're not going to make it. But in my opinion, you really got to focus on, coming from a non-educated guy, even though I have done a lot of marketing consulting for these companies. Well, I was kind of grandfathered in. I started this shit, 20 years ago. And, if I could get somebody to sit down and talk to me and listen to me, I could probably sell myself pretty good and get a job or get them to let me do something. But now it's, if you go into SHOT Show like the old days and walk up to a booth and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about a sponsorship, they're going to talk to you. They're going to dread it the whole time, and then they're going to file it, which is in the trash can.
Yep.
I remember one time, I ain't going to mention the guy's name, is with Hunter Specialties, but he was the marketing director at the time. And he said, Steve, you're taking care of sponsorships today. I said, what do you mean? He goes, I want you to talk to these guys. If you see something that blows your mind, yeah, let's talk about it. If you don't, file it. And I'm like, what do you mean file it? And he goes, throw it away. And then he gave me a list with everybody that he wanted to talk to. And so when them guys come to the booth, I'd say, yeah, let me get so-and-so for you. But if they weren't on that list, then I had to listen to this dog and pony show, which some of them were really great. Some of them had really good shows, but they did not want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
And that was even in the early years. I can't imagine going to SHOT Show now and trying to get a sponsorship. It would just be nuts, I would think.
Yeah. No, I totally see that. I mean, it's such a different space, and just even in the last 5 years, it's changed so drastically. I feel like it's just, a constant change, and, like kind of what you're alluding to, the way it has changed. I mean, I'm sure it's good for the companies, but it's still it still seems like there's companies going out of business. There's these huge companies or investors or whoever that are owning all these brands, like look at like Fair Outdoors and even like those companies own 15 brands.
Yeah. Everything, it's a holding company's world now.
Yeah.
And I remember when that started happening. Used to, Hunter Specialties was owned by Dave and Carmen Forbes, and Primos was owned by Will and his brother, and Night and Hell was owned by David and Harold. I knew all them guys.
Right.
I knew freaking all of them. I was around when Randy Anderson stole the hot dog howler from Dan Thompson after he died. I was around for all this shit. And that's why usually, and we can talk about coyote hunting and how I kill coyotes, but usually when I do podcasts, everybody wants to talk about the industry because I'm so industry orientated, because it was my career. Yeah. And I felt like I did it right, and I'm doing it right. But it also gets you a lot of bad. It's just hard when you're completely honest sometimes. It's super hard. I got on a Facebook page the other day. I'm killing coyotes for 20 years on TV, making it look easy. It's not, but and I posted something about a build on a coyote hunting page. And this jack off the first comment's like, I can't believe you guys bolting these barrels on an action and you call yourselves gun builders. And then he's like, fucking idiots. And you know what? one thing a lot of the industry don't know about me is I'm a fighting little prick, man. I've been in more fights in the last 5 years than probably most people ever will be in their life. And that's one thing that really has turned me off and got me to go different directions, especially retail, is, man, I just can't compete with these guys. They're younger. They're more swift with their tongue. They're funnier. And then most of the demographic is younger.
Yeah.
The old guys are getting old like me, so we already know how to kill coyotes, and we're still learning and paying attention, but we're not slinging leg everywhere or having dick measuring contests every other 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Which costs us a lot of money because I don't do a very good job marketing anymore on Facebook. Well, 2 months ago, Facebook completely unpublished my page for 3,650 days. And then two weeks after that, Google sent me a letter and said that I didn't follow their rules, and they were unpublishing my social app that I had. And I had this social app for like 4 or 5 years, spent a buttload of money building it. And then I paid $600 or $700 a month almost to keep that thing alive. And it wasn't a garage sale. It was where we all hung out and we all talked about shooting shit. We talked about politics. We talked about all kinds of stuff. But it was all people that was really, truly sincere coyote killers. And then the ones that weren't, they were there because they wanted to learn.
Yeah.
And we migrated that platform to Discord, which all the young guys listen and they'll know what that is. It's a gaming. It was actually designed for gaming, but it's actually a pretty cool little app, and you can do anything you want. It don't cost nothing.
Right.
And I don't know how in the hell Discord makes money, but anyway, a few hundred people went over there after that got done, and so we're all still hanging out and chilling and just doing our thing.
Right. Yeah, it's like I said, it's ever evolving, and like we kind of talked about before we got on here, just it's not a kind world of social media to be a hunter or shooter in these days. So it sucks, especially for your business. I mean, it's not even about the hunting or the shooting; it's just your business. I mean, that's your livelihood. So it's obviously means way more to you than most things do.
Yeah, I can't even. Well, now it's, I started another Dog Soldier fan page. I got like 300 likes the first hour. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to get people back. And at least it may not be 90,000, but the people that's coming will be engaged. Well, I don't know. A few days after that, it's like I get this notification from Facebook. We are no longer able to recommend your page to viewers due to community guidelines or some bullshit. So I'm pretty well, when it comes to Facebook, I'm probably never going to do anything again on Facebook as far as a fan page. I do still have a page up. I figured it'd be squashed with the other account, but I guess it's under my personal. I do have a page on there called Hand Calling Only. And, it's got a couple thousand people, and it's not very active, or it wasn't, but we're going to make it active again because, hand calling is fucking cool. And hand calling is all about being a woodsman. And you mentioned you listened to about every episode of podcast I ever done. I talked a damn lot about being a good woodsman.
Yeah.
You don't have to use Dog Soldier hand calls. You don't have to use my guns. You don't have to use anything besides what you want. But if you're a good woodsman, you're going to get around and you're going to do stuff and you're going to kill shit. If you're not a good woodsman, then you're going to learn how to be a good woodsman, because the coyote is one of the most, they're just not easy. They are easy in some states, but they play the wind. They're full-time coyotes and we're part-time coyote hunters. There's just so much to the coyote, and you don't have to use, if you guys sent me an email and said, what's the best predator call in the universe, I would be like, well, whatever you want to use and what's comfortable to you.
Right.
That's what's the best. The Dog Soldier hand calls are the best to me because I designed them and they're for me.
Right.
I can sell anybody anything if I'm passionate about it. So when I tend to manufacture stuff or build a rifle or Customs are a little different because I'm building them to the customer, but like the hand calls, I built them how I wanted them, and I'm passionate about them, and they sound good, and it's what I won the world championships with. That's the best to me. Hell, it may not be the best to you, and that's totally fine with me. I'm not gonna, I don't have 2,500 pro staffers that's gonna jump on you like a fucking dog and say you need to use this or you're stupid. I don't care what people use. I don't care if I told the guy the other day, I got an email, and it was about, just hunting in the industry, and this guy had been watching me and his family stuff. And, sometimes I get just good, humble, down to earth emails, and it's that's what it's all about for me. I just want people to kill shit. You don't have to buy my stuff. But as a marketing guy and a sales guy and an entertainer or whatever people want to call me, I have enough common sense that if I stay true to myself and I don't bullshit people, you're going to buy my calls, or you're going to buy one call. And if you like it, maybe you'll buy two, and maybe you won't buy another freaking call, or maybe you'll send it back for a refund. I don't know. But at least we're getting somewhere, and you're killing stuff, and we're getting you where you need to go. That's my main goal. I need you to get from point A to point B, which is maybe not so successful to successful. And the call, whether it be mine or somebody else, is the least important of that equation. Gerald Stewart told me one time, every coyote stand has a different formula, and every coyote has a different formula. How do you trigger this coyote? How do we even be able to make a sound? Because if you don't do shit right from point A to point B, and you blow a hand call, you just threw the whole thing out the window. So there's so much more to coyote hunting or hunting period than the tools we use. It's woodsmanship.
Yep. And that's a lost art. I mean, in my opinion, these days, that's a lost art. Everyone just wants the best sound, the best call, the best gun, the best caliber, the best whatever. That'll help me kill them if I have all that stuff. The hunting part's easy if I have all that stuff, and it's just not the case.
No, it's not. And I know more than anybody that if you see me or one of my guys, Sterling or Stearman or whoever, if you see us blowing a dog soldier hand call and these coyotes come in all episode like they did, and we're killing the hell out of coyotes, we all know that people are probably going to buy that call. Now, it's like everything else. It may not fit you. Like our optics, a lot of people don't understand that how glass is cut. Not every scope is going to fit you. But most people, like myself, I don't have a lot of money. So most of my experience with optics for the last 20 years is what, like Burris, for instance, they started sponsoring us with Hunter Specialties. I had no decision in that. One day they said, turn in all your Swarovski stuff. You're shooting Burris now. Yes, sir. Well, thank God Burris actually had some good glass back then, and I loved them. And when I started Dog Soldier, Pat Beckett, he's like, dude, I'm on board. Let's do this. And I shot Burris for 2 or 3 years, and then they decided to pull the sponsorship, which was 100% fine. And Pat Beckett told me, we're going to do a Predator Quest scope, and we need to save the money. Okay, great. I'm all about Les. He's a good dude. Do a Predator Quest scope. And I kept shooting Burris. I didn't call Leupold, and I didn't call anybody. I kept shooting Burris, and my partner's like, man, we got to find an optics sponsor. And I'm like, how in the hell do we do that? Well, I was also dabbling, and a lot of people know, I guess, but I was hosting an air gun show at the time for another company, and killing shit with air guns, whether it be white-tailed deer or squirrels. I love squirrel hunting, by the way. And that company was a manufacturer. They're owned by Walter Umarex USA. And one day they said, hey, what optic are you using? And I'm like, Burris. And they're like, is it going to be a problem if we start doing optics? And I said, yeah, if you don't have me design the line for you or help. And they're like, well, there ain't really no design to it. We're just, manufacturing, common sense. But yeah, we want your input. We'd like to do Dog Soldier scope. And I'm like, I'm all about it. But I don't have a sponsorship with Burris. I shot Burris for I don't know how many years without a sponsorship.
Right.
One thing you might have seen sponsors come and go on Dog Soldier, but you didn't see when Mossberg, I helped them flagship the Mossberg MVP Predator, which was the first year Mossberg ever come out with a bolt gun. And it was pretty cool because it actually used your standard AR magazine and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Gun come out of the box, you take it out of stock, put a little black tape in front of the lug like poor people do and get that barrel out of the wood. And it shot good. And, but another Duck Commander deal, I don't even know if they're still around. But, oh, bless her heart, I can't remember, Pam or Pat. Anyway, the marketing lady from Mossberg has a SHOT Show one year, and we went to the industry meeting and dinner, and we're all hanging out. And I filmed, I don't know, 10 or 15 interviews with all these different Mossberg people. And then after I filmed all this stuff, I go up to her, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? She's like, cool, Steve, you want to sit down and talk for a minute? I'm like, oh, yeah, if you want to do it here, we can talk. And usually it was just a simple, yeah, you're all good, I'll send you a contract. She's like, yeah, we spent too much money with Duck Commander. We're going to have to cut sponsorships this year, and you're getting cut. And I was like, okay, cool. I didn't get mad at her. I did ask her why in the hell she let me sit there for 3 hours filming shit if she was just going to fire me.
Right.
But, she's a good gal. I can't remember her name right now. I seen Linda Powell. Yeah, she was a good gal. She likes hunting, and she goes on a lot of hunts and stuff. She's a really good person. I didn't get too mad, but I had such a good relationship with Winchester through the Hunter Specialties days that I was still shooting Winchester, and then Mossberg, Linda asked me to flagship the Predator, so I did. But I just, went back to Winchester and where I'd always been. So it wasn't really that big a deal. I liked the Mossberg MVP. It was still good, and I even still talked about it even after they were gone. I was with Winchester a lot of years, counting my Hunter Specialties years, and I was with them all the way up until 2020, I think. And after they dropped me, I had bled Winchester so long, I just felt like it would be a criminal. Felt like it'd be criminal if I went to another gun company. So I thought, hell, I'm just going to build my own.
There you go. That's perfect.
Yeah. I think it's funny. I've had guys leave me, they hunted with me for years and was my friends, and they've left me and started their own deal. And man, he's got a different, I don't even know if he still does anything, but he don't deserve me to even say his name, but he's got a different fucking gun sponsor every 2 months. Like, how can you believe anything like that?
Right. Yeah. No, I agree 100%. There's something to be said about the one, being about the loyalty and if you use something for a long time, it obviously shows you believe in it. But if you're using something different all the time, you're just probably chasing a deal.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's some people listening that like, man, I want to learn how Steve calls coyotes, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But if they sit back and think about everything we've talked about from the time we started to now, you've actually learned a lot. You've learned a lot about saving your damn money. Don't let guys like me talk you into stupid shit, man. Sit back and watch these people and what they're doing and what they're using, and you're going to see who the real killers are.
Yeah.
Colton Gillen down here in southern Wyoming, he's the killingest little son of a bitch I've ever seen. And, he wears old ratty ass Carhartts, and, his beard looks like he's been laying on his face for 20 years straight. But he's a killer. Yep. And then Cal Taylor, I know Cal really well. He's a government trapper. He recorded so many sounds for Fox Pro in the early days. And of course, he didn't get no credit for it.
Yeah.
But if you just sit back and pay attention to these guys, you can see the guys that you really want to, I don't want to say idolize, but mimic. We all do really good job at mimicking dead rabbits. but nobody does a good job at mimicking a good coyote hunter.
Yeah.
And that is a strong statement.
Yeah.
And until you learn to learn from your mistakes and who to pay attention to, you will be held back.
Yeah.
So
I
and
totally,
that's how I learned, you know.
totally 100% agree with you. I think that's it kind of comes back to that. Just everyone wants the answer, the sound, the call, the gun, the whatever. And like, instead of just going out there and figuring it out, screw it up, figure it out, learn from it. Think about, like, be critical with yourself and, figure out what you did wrong. Look in the mirror and be like, dang, I did this wrong and I messed that up. That's, I think what a lot of people don't do enough of is just look in the mirror and realize, hey, I messed that up. Now, how can I learn from it, or how can I get better from it?
Yeah, and there's guys out in the industry that have been in the industry as long as I have, like JD Pyatt and Tony Tebby. I mean, me and Tony Tebby have butted heads before. It's no secret. Everybody that's known me or everybody that's known Tony, we've butted heads before. We don't not like each other. We just butted heads. And you know what? I'll tell you right now, I know some of the best coyote hunters, I believe, going right now. Some people know them, maybe. Some people probably don't. But, they're like, man, these sounds are what you should use. These are the freaking bomb. They're working, And, I hate to say it, but, like, guys like myself and guys like Tony and JD, that we've been around so long and we maybe not as loud as we should be. They don't get as much credit as they should either sometimes. There's some really good products out on the market and really good sounds out on the market, but, marketing is king, though.
Yeah.
That's just how the world works. And
anymore, it costs money to market stuff.
Oh shit, man! You're telling
Lots
me
of
it's the gun deal's pretty good. It's a good word of mouth deal. The guns are good. If they take them to a range, 10 people see them, maybe one will think about buying or something. But when it comes to coyote hunting, people want to see this shit. People want to see a picture of a dead coyote every day by somebody, and until you learn the woodsmanship part. Because woodsmanship's going to tell you to pay attention to this shit. Like, so where's this guy at? He's posting a picture every day. Like, I want to be like him. Well, if he's in Midland, fucking Texas, posting a picture every day, yeah, he knows what is going on. He's a good coyote hunter. I'm not going to take that away from him, but you need to pay attention to him. But woodsmanship should tell you, hey, I need to find somebody that duplicates my situation as well.
Yeah. Right.
If guy lives in Indiana, is a shitty state to coyote hunt. I mean, they coyote hunt now that there's thermal and stuff. Thermal has opened up so many worlds to people.
Yep.
You used to not be able to buy a coyote in Indiana or Idaho or hell, even Utah. Daylight coyote hunting is tough in some of these shot to hell states. But if you throw a thermal on top of your rig, you're killing 10 a weekend.
Right.
And that's a short weekend for some of these killers like, Colton Gillum and Jason Stearman, one of my guys, Sterling Justice. I mean, I don't even know if he posted a picture that they killed 10 or 15 the other day. I mean,
right.
But you just, as a woodsman, you gotta start paying attention to every aspect of everything, and the least aspect of it is that damn collar and that damn dead coyote. Believe it or not, is the least important part of the equation, because if you're following. Like, if I post a dead picture every day, which I used to think I had to, I need people to know I can kill coyotes. So, yeah, that's great for marketing. But, when I was killing them in Missouri, yeah, that's probably why I got so well known. Was I in the thick brush like the MFK guys down in southern Arkansas? No. I was hunting hayfields and timber and stuff, but a lot of the Midwest, a lot of the South, a lot of the Eastern guys started really picking up momentum, and that market over there started picking up momentum because we was really promoting the hell out of, hey, we can kill coyotes in these situations, which typically wasn't duplicated unless you was out west. And, if Jeff's killing 30 a weekend in Nebraska, that does you no good if you're in Louisiana, in my opinion.
Yeah, right.
Coyote's a coyote no matter where you kill them at, but the formula is different.
Yeah.
And the only thing that can make the formula pretty well consistent is your topography or your location or your territory, whatever you want to call it, you know. Like Wyoming here, it changes so much. I'm going to go in the morning and it's going to be all shithole badland hunting and it's going to be hard. You know, we've had public land deer hunters for the last month, and
Yep.
I mean, it's going to be a bitch of a hunt. We'll probably kill a couple, but you know, if I kill 10 tomorrow out in the Badlands, like that's not going to help anybody down in Louisiana trying to kill them on the or on the levees, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Which I've hunted coyotes on the levees of Louisiana, and it's funner than shit. It's it's good.
I bet it is. That's got to be different.
Yeah, it's all thick, you know, and you got clearings and 2 tracks on the levee or beside them. It's pretty fun. Yeah, it's cool. Different, totally different.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like kind of what you're saying too. That's pretty much why I started this podcast, is because like the Midwest, you know, especially the upper Midwest, like Wisconsin, Minnesota, we just like there's no, even like Illinois, Iowa, I would say, like there's just no anything really out there for people to try to learn from. You know, all podcasts,
Yeah.
all predator hunting videos, all that stuff. It's all in the West. It's in the, you know, it's in Kansas, you know, Nebraska, the Dakotas, anywhere, you know, just anywhere but here. So it's like, and what you're saying is 100% true. It's just different. Like, and you know, I've had people ask me, so you know how Jeff Nimnick does that coyote class, and like I've had people up in Wisconsin be like, "Hey, you think I should do this?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, you might learn some stuff from it, but it's just so much different here. Like, I just don't know that you're gonna do that class and just suddenly just go out there and, you know, kill 15 coyotes tomorrow. Like, I just don't know if that's a realistic expectation, you know?"
Yeah, Jeff is definitely a good coyote killer, good contest hunter. But there's parts of the equation that help. You know, good lease ground that ain't ass pounded all year. A lot of people have to understand that if the world champions are winning consistently, it's not because they're hunting shit that's ass pounded. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. They're hunting good ground.
You know, I mean, yeah, they're hunting good unpressured ground. Where are you from, by the way?
I'm from Wisconsin, so.
Wisconsin. You know why you can't get a good blowjob in Wisconsin?
Why?
Because all the cocksuckers are out here.
Wow,
dude,
that's a good one.
Everybody, that is a good one, ain't it? A guy from Wisconsin told me that the other day.
That's funny.
And then I asked him, I was like, "Are you gay?" Dude. So where I live in Wyoming, in Sleep, Wyoming, like there's people that like I can guarantee you during hunting season, whether it's elk or deer hunting season, they kind of run together. If 20 people come into my bar, I can guarantee you 15 of them are either from Minnesota or Wisconsin.
Oh,
I don't know how the Wisconsin people found out about this place, but it's pretty cool because, like, this is a Wisconsin, Minnesota-driven economy during hunting season. I mean, they're all here. Like, not all of them, but, you know, a lot of the people. This is a big, you know, it's a town of 200 people, but I'm on the way to Yellowstone.
Right.
So we have a big tourist season, a huge tourist season. But in the wintertime, it's kind of like another tourist season, and majority of them are Wisconsin and Minnesota, and they all come out here to deer hunt and elk hunt. And you wouldn't believe how many people that live here that have found this place from hunting, and they move out here. Kind of like me. I moved out here. I found Tim Sleep filming a lion hunting episode. And when I started lion hunting out here, it was just like, wow. And when I went through that divorce, long story short, not to get big into that, but I was pretty screwed up, you know, and I just couldn't. I just ran, and this is where I ran to. And man, it's a lot of freaking Wisconsin and Minnesota people. So I had to tell you that joke because you kind of sounded like you're from Wisconsin. So
that's funny. I believe that too, though. I mean, Wisconsin, Minnesota people love a small town, and will go into any bar in a small town. So.
Oh yeah, drink that Busch Light like a son of a bitch, man.
Dang, you even got Busch Light there. That's a positive.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of hippie beer too because in the summertime, Tinsley's got a big canyon. It's like one of the top 10 climbing canyons in the freaking world.
Huh.
So them hippies just, like them rock climbers, they just flock here in the summer.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I'm sure you probably gotta stock up on the IPAs and the all that stuff.
Yeah. I don't have to worry about ever getting in fights with them guys because they're kind of, they want to hug trees and shit and sing Kumbaya.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, back to the whatever we were talking about.
Yeah. I want to ask you, so how long have you been building rifles and when did you start doing that? So it must have been 2020, you said, or somewhere around there?
Yeah, somewhere. Actually, I think in 2000. So it was a process. 2019, Winchester and myself got into a little squabble over a picture I posted. I flipped the camera off of bloody hands and said this means fuck off in American because I was into it with a Greenpeace group online. And they were flogging my fan page so hard that every 5 minutes I'd get a notification. For every 2 minutes, a notification. People were posting on my page, and they were leaving bad reviews and, you're a killer, all this other bullshit.
Yeah.
And there was no validity to my fan page at the time during that because it was so clogged up. There was no way to look at it. It wouldn't stay refreshed. It was a horrible mess. It was just overloaded. And this was actually a Brazilian Greenpeace group. But anyway, long story short, I was in Colorado during this, and I killed a couple coyotes, and I was just like, flipped the camera off, and I posted it to the Facebook page, hoping they would see it. Well, I don't know how long. It wasn't very long after that. Winchester's Jason Gilbertson and Aaron Cox called me, and they're like, hey, by the way, Aaron so-and-so's on the phone too. She's going to join the meeting with us. And I said, first of all, I think it's cool there's two Aarons on because all Aarons are cool because I'd known Aaron Cox forever. Met her at a Cabela's appearance, 100 years ago. And anyway, I said, but this other Aaron, she's probably got a cool name, but why Gilbertson? Why we got a lawyer on the phone here? And he goes, who said she was a lawyer? And I'm like, come on, dude. Like, I've been done this a long time, and I've worked for the companies. I know this is what's going on. And he's like, well, we need to talk about what you posted. And I said, well, what I post? And he's like, the picture flipping the camera off with bloody hands. That's pretty out there. And I was like, yeah, they're commenting every 5 minutes, that they wish death on my family, rape on my girls, burn me at the cross. My girls' family deserved it. I mean, these Greenpeace groups are fucking brutal, and they actually hurt your feelings. You can be the toughest son of a bitch in the world, and they'll tear you to pieces. Because when people that you don't know at all start telling you they wish you was dead and your kids were dead, and and I do have a story that just tell me FBI. Just say FBI after this story. Write it down in your notes or something. Because this next story could be good too. But anyway, they fired me. Long story short, they fired me. And there was a guy up in Oregon, of all places, that wanted to. He was a gun builder. He always wanted to build a dog soldier rifle. And I was like, man, I'm ride or die Winchester, blah blah blah. Well, they fired me, so I immediately call this dude. And I'm like, you still want to build dog soldier rifles? He's like, hell yeah. And well, anyway, we come to an agreement, and I said, what's the lead time? And he said 6 weeks. And I said, okay, 6 weeks, which, by the way, is a lot longer than my lead times, and that's why we'll talk about guns in a minute. But anyway, I was like, okay, so we sell a shit ton of dog soldier guns right out of the gate. And they're all getting delivered on time. They're all shooting good. Everybody's happy. And then all of a sudden, one day I get this call, and the guy's like, hey, I need to ask about my dog soldier rifle. And I said, yeah, what about it? And I said, and by the way, did you buy it from somebody? He's like, no, I bought it from this dude. I ain't going to mention his name. And because, you know, people say bad press is good press too. This son of a bitch don't deserve anything. But so I was like, so you bought it off of him? And he goes, yeah. Well, I didn't know that. And, you know, I got a piece of every gun sold. And I was selling the guns, he was building them. So I was getting a commission for selling them, more or less.
Yep.
And, well, anyway, this guy finally had to threaten lawsuit to get his gun back. But I started seeing lead times stringing out. And I'm like, dude, like, we're promising this and we're not delivering. We can't continue to do this. Well, this guy that called me was the last straw. And I just told him, I said, you know what, I'll just build them myself. Because I already knew how to use all the machinery, building prototypes through the career, which for you young guys listening, you know, if you want in the industry, learn how to use machines that make prototypes, 3D printers, lasers, metal lathes. Be a machinist. I can get you in the industry right now if you're a machinist. Give me a call.
Yep.
And so anyway, we split our ways. I invested a fuck ton of money. The only thing I was inexperienced at is I didn't know the licensing process. I didn't know how to become an FFL or a Type 7 manufacturer. I knew how to use all these machines to build what I needed to build, but I didn't know what I needed to build guns. So I had to learn that. And what expedited that process, so this was like 2019, and it lasted for a while, and then I fired him. So let's just say 2020, somewhere right in there. I made all these investments, bought all this equipment, and I got this, like, I've got a 2,000-pound lathe on the way to my house, and I'm like, where am I going to put this, and what am I going to do with it? So there's a gunsmith in town in Tinsley. He's a master gunsmith, and he's the world's top Colt restorer. He's a cowboy, old cowboy Colt restorer. He specializes in old Colts. I've held Colts. It's worth $500,000 in his shop. It's freaking amazing.
Huh.
And so I went down and I said, Bill Fuchs, I said, man, I know you're a Yankee, but I got to ask you something. He's from Pennsylvania, so I call him Yankee.
Yep.
I said, brother, I'm in trouble. He goes, what are you in trouble about? I said, well, fired my gun guy, and I've ordered all this shit. And I don't know. I need to know how to get an FFL, and I need to go do this. But also, I'm going to need some help, you know, because I don't know. Yeah, I'm just kind of blind. And he's like, you know what, Steve, let's make a deal. So we made a deal, and I moved into his shop. All my equipment delivered, moved into his shop. He helped me with what I needed to know as far as the tooling. I knew how to run the machines. I just didn't know the proper tooling aspects to build these guns, which I later found out that was actually, I was actually building guns this whole time without building guns. So just the knowledge of the machinery. I'm not a machinist, but I'm a self-taught machinist, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just like every poor guy in the country has to do. You have to make it. And I already knew all this from my past experience building hand call prototypes, shooting stick prototypes, just other weird shit throughout the industry that I've helped develop. And I still got the 12. It's a 7 by 14 metal lathe. That means it has 7 inches clearing at your oh shit. Well, anyway, you got from your head to your tailstock, you got 14 inches or so, and then you got 7-inch clearing. So I was building small parts, screws, just, you know, if I needed a screw for this prototype and it had to be this, I would build it. Well, you know, cutting tenons and threading is a common thing in gun building. Reaming a chamber is a common thing in gun building that, or obviously is the major part of gun building, but is super common in other areas because, you know, you're always counterboring or you're always relief cutting, you know, just doing other, it's just machining, right?
Yeah.
And I just taught myself all this shit throughout the years. And when it comes time to build a gun, moving into Bill's shop, I'll never forget the first gun I built. I built the first gun. I built 3 guns, and one went to Stearman, one went to Sterling, and one went to myself, and they are all raghole shooters. And I was like, holy cow. I can actually do this. And once I proved to myself that I could do this without making costly mistakes, I'm like, well, I've never threaded something that was 1.0625 with a major diameter. I mean, that's big. I better see if I can do this. Well, hell, that's easier than doing the little screws.
Right.
So I just found out that I knew how to do all this stuff already. And, I had the machineries. I'm not afraid of investment because you can't make money without spending money. And I'm not afraid to jump out on a limb because I have been poor before, and I'm not scared of being poor. I'm not rich by no means, but I'm doing good now. But if I was poor tomorrow, I still got my family, and I still got my hunting, and I still got my life, So I'm not scared of nothing. I'm fearless, man.
Yeah.
And when I say fearless, that don't mean shit don't scare me. That just means I don't keep it around very long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if I'm scared of something, I figure out how to squash it. I'm fearless. And so I just started building guns, and the first year I built 38 guns the first year on my Type 7. And then pretty much every year after that, I'm hitting my quota, which I stopped before 50. I stopped at 48 because if I think I've sold 48, I might have sold 49 or 47. I don't know, but I go through my paperwork and you turn in your reports. But if you build more than 50, or if you hit 50, you got to pay an excise tax on 1 through 50 and everything after that. So, I mean, I'm over 200 guns deep now, and I started building in 20. I started building probably before 20, but let's just say 20.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I built a lot of guns, and I've made mistakes. I've put rings in chambers before that I had to fix, and I treat my gun building just like my coyote hunting. If I make a mistake, I learn from it. And I really focus on it. Every gun I build, even today after 200, I learn something new, if that makes sense. I learned maybe an easier way to do something, but the most thing I learn over and over again that you tend to forget as a human being is take your time and do it right the first time.
Yeah.
Every time you get in a hurry building a gun, you fuck something up. Period.
Those
it's
are
not
what'll
a
hurt
question.
you.
It's going to happen. Yeah, and you can't do that. And I do shoot everything and make sure everything verifies before it leaves the shop. So, I don't ring chambers no more. I did put a ring in a chamber the other day, and it was actually in the same spot I put a ring in a chamber a couple of weeks ago on a 300 ROM. So learning from that mistake, that's pretty consistent fuck up. So I go to my ringers and I find out that I got a chip in my ringer. Boom.
Right.
Fixed now,
Yep. That makes sense.
So no 30 minutes. Yeah, no 30 minutes of buffing, I fixed it.
Yeah.
And that's, that's pretty much how I started gun building, Winchester. In 4 years, I've sold, or a little over 4 years, almost 5 years, I've sold over 200 custom guns. And I can't imagine how many $1,200 Winchester Coyote lights I sold for them guys. Because I loved that Winchester Coyote light. They shot good. They felt good. It was just a great gun. And I hope Gilbertson's listening to this because I know he'll be happy for me that I succeeded because he was a good guy. But I know he'll know he fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, there ain't no way around it. There ain't no way around sugarcoating that. I mean, that does sound arrogant, but it's like I'm confident that I was selling a lot of Winchester guns because, I mean, I really pay attention to the people that watch me and communicate with me. I try to answer all the emails and I try to answer all the questions. And that super pisses me off when the people that I grew up with in this industry don't do that.
Yeah.
We owe a lot to you guys. We owe a lot to the coyote hunters. We owe a lot to the industry. We owe a lot to the people because we're not on video or I'd walk over to my lathe and show you. I'll read you something real quick. So my gun lathe sits along the wall. And right up above it, there's the season 1 of Dog Soldier, 2010-ish or 11, somewhere around in there. They still had DVDs back then. the cover is on a poster board. It's like a 3x4 poster board that's hung up in my shop, and it's Dog Soldier, blah, blah, season 1. Well, right under it, I took a Sharpie on my wall, and I wrote this: "You wouldn't be shit without the people that support you. Just like the person that ordered the gun you are building right now. 100% or nothing. Fucking send it."
Nice.
And that sums Steve Criner up in a nutshell right there. Like,
yeah,
I may be a cocky little prick sometimes, and I may be mouthy, and I cuss a lot. I'm from the South. I cuss. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm going to hell. Maybe I'm not. But I tell you what, that saying right there that I wrote on the wall, talking to myself, sums me up in a nutshell, because I do genuinely care about people, and I do genuinely care about coyote hunting and the people that support me and the other coyote hunting people in the industry. We all I wish we could all work together, but we can't. The one thing about the coyote hunting industry, it's just like the whitetail industry. They'll throw their fucking grandma in front of a bus, kill their buddy's coyote, or get a so-called sponsorship. I mean, it's a dog-eat-dog deal.
Yeah, it is.
And it's tough. It's freaking tough. And I wish, I built a pretty good team with Dog Soldier, and most of the people are still around. But there's some of them that thought they could do better, which, some of them in their eyes may have done better, and that's good for them. But if we could all just work together, it'd be good. I can't go hunt on Predator Quest TV, or not Predator Quest, but Predator Pursuit, with a really good friend of mine, Jeff Thomason, because he's Fox Pro's, he's with Fox Pro. And, there's so much of that. Well, if you want to hunt with Steve Criner, or do you want to be with Fox Pro, or you want to do this, or you want to be with this?
Yeah.
There's so much of that bullshit around. And
right.
I really think every coyote hunting personality or entertainer, I consider myself as an entertainer, not a professional expert.
Yeah.
Which I will tell you that I haven't said publicly nowhere. I did get asked to open for Uncle Cracker this summer. You don't even know who Uncle Cracker is, do you?
Yes, I do.
Oh, shit. I think that's cool because I'm an old guy, but everybody's like Uncle Crackers.
That is cool. That is cool.
Yeah, it don't matter what you do. If you hang out with people that know how to do it well, you succeed and you get better. That's how I got where I'm at. I hung out with good marketing guys, good manufacturing guys, good hunters, good TV guys. I learned. I didn't just cook this shit up and it happened. I'm not a natural. I'm not an expert. I'm not better than anybody. But I am really good at being myself, which is 100% honest. And I think that's where we all should be. And this gun building deal, I think, is the reason why it took off so well, is because I'm just one of everybody else. I'm not anything special. I'm just a dude building guns in Ten Sleep, Wyoming.
Right. Yeah. No, I 100% agree with everything that you're saying. And yeah, I just think that, part of me is like, dang, I wish, I'm sure a lot of people, because like I told some of my buddies that I was going to record a podcast with you. And of course, a couple of them are like, who's that? And then the couple of them are like, dude, oh my God, that's awesome. And it's just, I wish that there was more, personalities that were no bullshit and, could just be themselves, not chasing money, not chasing, just kind of just how you are, just not chasing money, not chasing sponsorships, not chasing, the numbers. That drives me nuts too, is you're so worried about how many coyotes you kill that nothing else matters, and like you said, you'll run over your best friend just to shoot more coyotes than him.
Yeah, I didn't succeed or make a living killing more coyotes than anybody.
Yep.
I would try to kill 4 coyotes an episode. And if I killed 6, maybe that makes a good episode if I didn't kill no more. But if I killed 8 on one trip in 2 days, I had 2 episodes. And then I would go home and take care of business, you know, marketing, manufacturing, sales. You know, I didn't hunt. You know, there was years that I hunted 200 days a year. I have logged. It was 362 days, I believe, in early 2000 sometime, that I coyote hunted 362 days in 1 year.
Wow.
And the reason I did that is because I had to, when you're trying to do something, especially if you're trying to get good at something, you got to put in time and you got to dedicate your time to it. You got to really do what is needing done, which is experience. And that's how I could get experience. Now, I was in Missouri most of the time, Oklahoma, Kansas, you know, so them 360 days, they produced a lot of coyotes, but not like, if I hunted 360 days right now, I would kill, I could probably do a 200 coyote year if I did. I could probably do more than that. If I really wanted to showboat, I could just go spend a week in Midland and I mean, come on, let's face it, I could go down to southern Texas and spend a couple weeks or a month and kill 100. You know? I mean, numbers don't mean shit really to me anymore. Topography, style, technique, sound, woodsmanship mostly. That's what impresses me. Good videography, I really like that. I like audio better than videography because TV guys know that TV sucks if you don't have good audio. So I love audio. When we play music, I like making it sound perfect. It has to be good. So, I mean, and there's just so much. And when you, circling back around to experience, one thing that I didn't coin it or I didn't claim it to be mine, but one thing I learned at a young age, especially living in Missouri where coyotes running over you every stand, if you sat and thought about one coyote that you called in. So let's just say I called in, well, prime example, last winter, I did a YouTube video about it. I went outside of town here, blowing a hand call a little bit, coyote comes in, I shoot and miss him. I'm like, what in the Sam hell? Oh, you know, I'm pissed off. Me and my dog, we go back to the truck. So while I'm driving back to town, I do typical Steve Criner. I start replaying the episode or the stand or whatever, what I'm trying to learn. And I'm like, why in the world did I miss this coyote? So I start repeating the whole stand, all the way from the approach, all the way from setting down. I can tell you, I could draw, I can't draw worth of shit, so that's a bad example. I could storyline this whole stand out today, and it's been over a year ago. I can tell you exactly what happened from the truck to this tree. I can tell you exactly what happened from the time I sat down. Well, because one, my sticks fell over. That pissed me off. I remember it like it was yesterday. And the reason why is I've regurgitated that stand 150 million times in my head, like you should every coyote stand.
Right.
There's so many hours. There's so many hours of experience in one 10-minute coyote stand that people discredit or discard every time. They're like, oh, I killed a coyote. Boom, they're going to the next stand. And when they're going to the, oh, did you get it? Yeah. All right, thanks. All right, thanks, Josh. UPS guy.
Nice.
But so like every stand, when you call a coyote up and you kill it or you miss it, whatever. In this situation, I missed it. So I can tell you from point A to point B everything. And now I can tell you how I missed it. But back to the point, I start regurgitating that stand like you should every stand, whether you're successful or not. You should regurgitate every stand in your mind. Pay attention to the details, because I promise you, you've seen the details, you've noticed the details, but it takes time for your head to catch up, if that makes any sense. Yeah. Or actually you to catch up with your eyeballs.
Yep.
So I couldn't figure out how I missed this coyote. I'm pissed off. I'm driving back home, and then boom, it hit me. I pull over. I walk around my truck. I grab my gun out because my gun's always in a case because my dog rides with me and I'm in the little Toyota that I hunt out of. I pull my gun out, and I had been shooting 600 yards the day before, and I was like 34 clicks to the up, 3.5 mil.
Yeah. Yep.
Dude, I fixed my problem right there. If I wouldn't have regurgitated that stand, I would have went and called up another one and missed that sumbitch too.
Right. Yep.
So the biggest thing anybody would ever get out of me if they're asking me about coyote hunting, that right there, I don't need to teach you how to do anything. I just need you to know woodsmanship's important. But if I'm going to teach you something, I want to teach you the importance of getting every ounce of experience out of every fucking coyote you've ever seen.
Yep.
And the only way you get that is think about it all the time. You have to eat, breathe, and sleep it to be good, as some of these guys are. I never got to the level of some of these guys that I wanted to be. I can kill coyotes. I never won the world killing coyotes. I was a world champion by calling. I sounded better than everybody that day, I guess. But you just regurgitate every stand. And you can do this today. Like, if you guys are listening and you're like, oh, now I got to go call in another coyote so I can do this shit. No. How about sit down, grab you an apple or a cigar. I love smoking cigars. You probably heard me light my cigar 100 times on this podcast. But just think about coyote hunting and your experiences. Don't think about Steve Criner on TV. Don't think about what you're seeing on Facebook. Think about that last coyote you called in, whether you were successful or not. And then, just out of curiosity for yourself, go back to an unsuccessful stand where you just completely fucked up and start thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then if it's one of them stands, you're like, how in the hell did that happen? You're going to find it. I promise you will find it, because if you paid attention to woodsmanship and you have the knowledge to call in a coyote, and you have the knowledge that guys like me have told you should have, like, play the wind and set in the shadows, all that stupid bullshit.
Yeah, right.
If you pay attention to this stuff and regurgitate every coyote you call in from now on, you will accelerate your experience so much. And that's why I got good, because I made more mistakes than anybody, because I was doing it for a living. I wasn't a garage TV show. It was 100. This industry has been my 100% living for almost 20 years.
Yep.
And that's hard to swallow for me, because, I didn't really get anywhere. I had a great job. Okay. When I first started, I want to be the best in the world. I didn't get there. Did I fail? No, I didn't fail. I just took a different direction based on experience. And you guys listening will do this too. But when it comes to killing coyotes, whether it was last week or last year, you guys are thinking about, man, this Steve's talking about the industry, but he ain't telling me shit about calling a coyote. The last 5 minutes, I've told you everything you ever need to know about killing a coyote.
Yep.
Period.
I totally agree with you. And that's 100% that's one of the biggest things that I've felt, strongly about, is just, that's what I feel like I do and we do too. The people that I hunt with, is we are very critical. We are always asking ourselves, why did that happen? Why did they do that? Why did they come from there? Why did they, use the train this way? Just all those things that go into, like you said, regurgitating that stand. And especially when you screw up, you can't just say, oh, my gun was off, I pulled the shot, whatever, or the coyote moved when I didn't want him to, blah, 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 whatever. But you could make excuses all day. But, I think the difference maker between, killing a few and maybe killing a lot is that regurgitating and really figuring out why you did what you did and why it went the way it did.
Yeah, it's amazing. And when I started, I did not pioneer podcast. One time a guy said, well, you pioneered the podcast for the predator hunting industry. I said, well, no, I didn't. I was one of the first that did a podcast for predator hunting. But actually, Brian, can't remember his last name. He started Predator Hunting Talkcast. Years ago, they were called Talkcast, not podcast. And I mean, this was 20 years ago, dude.
Yep.
And so Brian Downs, he's the one that done that. I bet you could find that original podcast or talkcast. But that's why I quit doing podcast, really. Every time I think I'm going to start it back up, I'm like, man, I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. But most importantly, I can tell somebody, in my opinion, how to become a good coyote hunter or successful. Let's just say successful. Some people gauge success differently. I gauge success if you can go out and kill a coyote. You know, if you think you're successful if you kill 10 a day, then yeah, you're not going to be successful very much. But if you're going out and having a good time and you know you're doing your shit right and you're killing coyotes and you got a 1-to-10 ratio, let's just say, you're doing freaking good. But I did on my podcast, I did it there for a while. I did what I called the system. And I talked more about woodsmanship than anything.
Yep.
And, you know, I did a YouTube video. I'm starting to be more active in YouTube because Facebook squashed me and marketing is king. So I got to do content. But, you know, I did one about the must-haves of predator hunting: a gun, a good optic, good set of shooting sticks. You know, I don't give a shit if it's mine or anybody else's. I don't give a shit what you use. But, you know, we got to get to the point, I think, in the industry. Well, the industry is never going to get to this point because, let's face it, we're 2024. The world's a shithole when it comes to anything, social media or online. So what we need to do is, some of us old guys, if they still have the energy, is we need to buckle down and really focus on teaching everybody the importance of woodsmanship and the importance of making mistakes, because making mistakes is the most important thing you can do. Because if you don't make mistakes, or if you get a batch of coyotes that don't care what I dropped a flashlight on a high rack floor one time and it sounded like I hit a 55-gallon barrel with a ball peen hammer, and that coyote still kept coming in. So if you're calling coyotes that stupid, I'm proud of you, and I want to call in them coyotes too and just kill the shit out of them. Yeah. But if you really want to get good, you're going to have to soak up the failure, because this is truly a sport that it takes failure to succeed. 100%. I don't think anybody will tell you any different. If they do, I would like to listen. And I take a lot of pride when I do podcasts. I'm not here selling you guys. I don't care what you use. I just want you to be successful. And I do want you to learn about the industry too. You know, I tend to do podcasts more toward guys that want to be in the industry. And then the guys, I'm kind of boring probably to some people that want to know the secret sauce of coyote hunting, because I just told you in 5 minutes. Yeah. What my secret sauce is: making mistakes and learning from them. And it don't take an expert to learn from that mistake. You just got to stop long enough to think about it and realize it. Right. Right. And find your own way, find what works for you. And that's what I always encourage people to do, is like, everyone kind of has their way. And that's why I like listening to so many different people and talking to so many different people, is like, everybody has their way and their way works. You know, you never know when I might be able to pull something from what someone told me or what I saw on someone's video to, you know, help me be successful in a situation, and just kind of diversify myself and as a hunter, and just be able to be prepared for situations. Yeah, that's called good woodsmanship, man. And I mean, if somebody came up to me and said, hey, Steve, I really want to learn how to coyote hunt. Would you help me? Well, yeah, I'll help you. You know, here's a hand call. Here's a set of shooting sticks. Get you a rifle, blah, blah, blah. Go out and make stands. You know, try to do this, try to do that. If they immediately go to killing a lot of coyotes, I'm going to perk up and I'm going to be like, okay, let's talk about this a little bit. Because I don't care how much experience has. Like even when Heath Baker, that used to work for me, you know, he can call coyotes. When he first started working for Dog Soldier, hunting with us, he couldn't call a coyote to save his life. And he got really good at calling coyotes. I will give him credit, but he could always shoot good. I'll give him credit there too. And, but if he's putting up, 10 coyotes a week, which he can, I'm paying attention, because if you're a successful coyote hunter or predator hunter, I don't give a shit how many cool tattoos he's got, or the mannerisms he makes, or the ghillie suits he wears. I don't give a shit about anything. I want to know, like, did he come up with a sound, or did he, well, you know, what's going on here? And when they do, you know, I'm probably, you know, I don't want to start a war, but maybe giving him too much credit here, but if you're successful, I don't care who you are. I guess I used him as an example because I don't like him, but I pay attention, not because I'm worried about him stomping on my doorstep and tearing Dog Soldier down and kicking my ass in the industry. I don't give two shits if he kills more coyotes. I don't care if I ever kill another coyote again. So that's where I'm at in my life. I've lived a great life and a good career, and I've killed a fuck ton of coyotes, and I'm happy with that. I don't have to kill anymore to prove anything. But when people are successful killing coyotes, I don't care how many likes they have or followers they have or if people like them or I like them. I step back and pay attention, because if I'm in a slump, or if I want to step up my game, or if I want to, like, hey, he's putting up some numbers, which I don't know if he is now or not, because, you know, I don't see him anywhere. That's what the good thing about social media. You can block anybody you want.
Yep.
But if you just sit and pay attention to numbers, as far as, okay, this guy's putting up a coyote every week, and a lot of people are going to be like, oh, you're talking crow now because you said you didn't care. Well, I don't care. But if somebody's posting a picture of a dead coyote every day, I am going to peek around the corner and be like, how's he doing that?
Yeah.
If it's just a picture, I discount it. I don't care. But if it's a video, sometimes I watch it. If it's your textbook stand, you know, in Southwest Missouri, and it's a Fox Pro with, you know, Byron South Cottontail or some bullshit, you know, I'm probably going to scroll, you know. But when people start doing weird shit, you know, like my coyote fight, I've killed more coyotes in the last 2 years probably with a damn coon squaller than I have anything.
Yep.
So that's what I pay attention to, and that's what I think people should pay attention to be successful.
Right. Look for something different, not for the same old, you know, like you said, that same old rabbit sound that you've heard on 300 videos. Just find something different.
Yeah. It's, you know, and you just did really good about completing the circle. You know, I'm paying attention, I'm trying to figure out this, and then you're boom. Yeah, maybe it's a sound that's, you know, not heard in your area. See, you're doing exactly what you should do. You're putting the whole circle together, I guess you can say.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I'll watch videos and I'll listen to what's playing. Like I'll see an animal coming in and I'll like hear what's playing, and then I'll be like, okay, I'll scroll. But then like all of a sudden I'll be like, ooh, what's that? And I'll watch and be like, okay, now I got to rewind. Now I got to see what that was, try to figure out the whole thing. And then I might go, you know, just try to figure out what that was, figure out what the sound was, whatever the situation, time of year, all that stuff. But it's just, it's funny how our minds work. And in turn, I didn't even realize that I did that until you said it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's good, because I mean, when you're able to complete that circle, or you're able to be a good woodsmanship, let's stay on track with the terminology. When you have good woodsmanship and you're starting to execute it right, and you're starting to pay attention, for like your example, you know, sometimes you scroll through shit and then you're like, oh wait, I better watch this one. Well, your trigger is sound. You know, that sound. Well, my big trigger on videos a lot, when I'm watching a coyote, like, so when you're scrolling through, you know, most of the time the preview of the video is the coyote coming to the call or something. When I see a coyote coming to the call and he's lackadaisical and his tail's set right and his ears are good and he's just coming to the call, I swipe.
Yep.
I swipe. I know how to handle a coyote that don't give a fuck about nothing. Am I cussing too much?
No, absolutely not.
I am? Oh.
No, you're not.
I was like, I'll call it back. So if a coyote's coming in and not giving a shit about nothing, that coyote means nothing to me. Now, you know, back in the day it did. Like, okay, coyote's coming to the call, what do I do next? How do I execute this? How do I kill him? Well, I've got hundreds and hundreds of hours at executing a shot and killing a coyote that'll come to the call that's dumber than shit.
Yeah.
But if I'm swiping through videos or seeing shit on Facebook and I see a coyote check up, and then I might watch. But I tell you, if I see a coyote standing there and he takes a step to the right and turns broadside, now I'm really watching. Like, what did he get?
Right.
So then I'm watching the video. Then I'm watching and I'm watching the leaves, and I'm watching the sticks, and I'm watching the weeds. I'm watching shit. I'm paying attention to shit. Kind of like an old trapper taught me, you have to pay attention to every element in the world if you're going to catch a coyote. Period.
Yeah.
There is no backsliding. We're 100%. I mean, we don't walk into a booth and say, "Father, I'm sorry," and make it right. Coyote hunting, you either do it right or you're never going to see that son bitch again. Period.
Yep.
I mean, you only get one chance. That's what's such a good sport. You know, if you get your ass kicked by the team next door, next year you can do it again. Well, that coyote, probably in most cases, you're never going to see him again, ever. Then you've probably made it hard on somebody else.
Yeah, 100%.
So when coyotes start demonstrating body language that's timid and they're coming to the call, I pay attention. If they're checked up and they're doing that weird shit, I pay attention because I know what's going to happen. I've got hundreds and hundreds of hours of experience. I know what's going to happen. If a coyote checks up and steps to the left and turns broadside, he ain't making it easy on you on purpose. He ain't telling you to shoot him right then on purpose. Most people should know to shoot him because it's getting ready to go tits up.
Yep.
But at that point, I'm like, oh, how'd this guy screw this up? I do it all the time, so I want to know how he screwed it up. That way I can try to not make the same mistake. And, you know, usually it's the mishandle of a coyote. Usually it's the swing of the gun at the wrong moment. Usually it's, I wouldn't say camouflage because, man, I used to wear camo a lot, and probably in the last 5 years, every picture, I might have a camo coat on or something because they don't make really good hunting coats that's just brown.
Yeah.
But like, I've brown duck pants and probably a T-shirt if it's hot. You've probably seen me kill more coyotes in a black T-shirt than anything.
Yep.
And, you know, so I'm not a camo guy. I'm just a learn body language and know when to move guy. I've killed every coyote, or every way you can kill a coyote, I've killed one. But I like to watch people make mistakes. And that sounds shitty, but I can't learn off of you if you're not making a mistake, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Because if it's on video, most of the time it's just textbook, you know. It's like, coyote comes in, he's right here. Woo, boom, it's over. Like, I can't believe I made a living shooting coyotes, doing that boring shit over and over again every week for almost 20 years. But if you pay attention to the coyotes that get shitty, if they're on video, which I always try to do really good when I missed and screwed stuff up, I tried to show it. And most of the time we were able to. But as long as I weren't throwing shit and cussing real bad, I could show it. You know, I've been known to break shooting sticks over stumps, and I've been known to throw rifles. I mean, I'm a guy. I get mad just like anybody else, especially when you do something really stupid. Yep. And, you know, when I see them coyotes on video being weird, that's the videos I watch. I don't watch very many because even whether it be my show or somebody else's, like, you just don't see it much. Because in the entertainment business, you know, failure is not entertaining to a lot of people. But I crave failure. I crave failure because I can learn from it and it'll make me better. You know, that's a really hard one to say and explain and to get people to understand, but if you kill a coyote on every stand and you do everything perfect this year, and I've had really great years where I never missed. I went 2 or 3 years one time without missing anything. And I killed everything I pointed my gun at. Everything just rolled. It was just so awesome. I felt like I was the best thing next to Jesus. It's just perfect, you know?
Yep.
And then it's like, boom, reality kicks in the next year. You get a bad start, and then you're making mistakes, and you don't know how to fix them. You know, coyote hunters are very typically lazy. But yeah, we like walking around out in the middle of nowhere and hunting and hiking, but, you know, we do get lazy, you know.
Yep.
I'll just sit here instead of over there. I ain't walking there. I'll just sit here instead of there. You know, I did that one time during the World Championships, and it cost us a coyote that would put us in the podium. Yep.
Yeah.
That year we took 7th. Yep. So, I mean, yeah, you know, it's just a really shitty deal, coyote hunting in a way, because it takes failure to get better. And if you can't get it from TV or you can't get it from online, you got to get it somewhere. So you have to crave it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got mad like everybody else, but sometimes I was just like, whew, I needed that. You know, I needed brought down to earth a little bit, you know?
Yeah. I
'cause
also see a lot that there's almost turnover in coyote hunting a lot. Like people will try to get into it, and then they'll kind of do it, and then they stop just because like what you're saying, it takes so much failure, and some people just can't handle it or don't want to handle it.
Man, you're a smart guy. And that is so 100% true. One time I was sitting at the buyer's table at Bass Pro, and the buyer, I can't remember his name now. You know, I'm selling an electronic call that me and Gerald designed, yada, yada, yada. And he's like, Steve, why do you think the predator hunting industry is so good consistently? Like there's no plateau. It's just goes and goes. And I said, it's a recyclable market. And he's like, what in the hell does that mean? I said, well, that's a hillbilly word I made up, recyclable market. And he goes, explain. And he was kind of a smart guy. And I said, people see me on TV. They buy what I use. They go out. They fail. They don't put it together. And then they go home. And then they hang it up. And then next year, it starts cooling off. Deer season gets over. They're wanting to go hunting. They get on TV. They see us kill something on TV. We're using that. Well, that's the problem. I'm going to buy that. Now I'm going to be successful. They go out again, and they're successful. And then they fail again. And then they hang it up until the next winter or the next TV show. They buy something. That's the problem. If we don't understand how to handle failure and make it a positive, we just keep buying shit. We keep trying to buy our way out of jail, you know?
Right.
And sooner or later you run out of money and you got to sit down and figure out how to stay out of jail.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah.
And
man,
another you hit the nail on the head.
Another good one that I see a lot now, especially like in the last probably 5 years, but it's been trending this way for a while, and I know you've seen it. You kind of talked about it earlier, but the thing that I see now that makes me laugh is guys will start getting into coyote hunting, and they won't be able to kill any, so then they'll buy a thermal, and then they'll go at night, and then they'll kill a few, and then they just think they got the world by the balls, you know. Because then suddenly now they think that they can kill every coyote in North America because they just killed 2 coyotes in one night. And it's just funny for me because if people would just learn how to do it, you know, without the thermal, how many more coyotes that people would kill. I mean, it's just, it would be mind-blowing for a lot of people, I'm sure. And nowadays, at least in the Midwest, I'm sure it's different, a little bit different in the West, but in the Midwest, now when people start coyote hunting, there is no day hunting. There is no learning how to day hunt. It's just buy a thermal, then start coyote hunting. Like people are just learning how to night hunt now. Like there's no even start in the daytime.
Well, I remember when I looked through my first night vision goggles, you know, in Arizona in 2003 or 4. I just thought that was like freaking the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life, you know. I'm not a thermal guy. I sell thermal. I deal a lot of thermal products. I can beat anybody's price. That's a shameless plug for me if you guys want to get a hold of me. But I don't condone it. I freaking hate the shit. It hurts my eyes. It I'm just a daytime guy. I'm a hand caller. I'm a woodsman. I like seeing body language. I like seeing coyotes come to the call, and I always get the argument, well, you can still see them in thermal. Yes, you can. But there's just, it's just, I'm not saying I'm beside it. I use it. I've got it sitting right here. I don't use it, but it's sitting here if I ever want to use it. And I'm not going to take nothing away from anybody for using it. I'm not going to call them a pussy or tell them they couldn't kill them in the daylight if they saved their ass. But it definitely is a tool that I think if you want to be a successful coyote hunter that you probably will have. But that's how they gauge success. I don't gauge success anymore on the kill.
Yep.
I gauge success if I've had a good day. When I can take my dog Molly, I got a Labradoodle. She'll sit. You've probably seen some of the pictures I posted. She sits right beside me, and she loves watching coyotes come to the call. And, it's amazing. And some people, will, like you just said, will never understand that because they'll never see it.
Yeah.
Coyote hunting's hard. And, weekend guys, if they can only hunt a few weekends out of the year or whatever, and they can go out and be successful at thermal and then call it a night, they're good. J.D. Pyatt is actually a world champion caller, and he's got some good sounds. I can't remember what he calls his sounds, but he's a really good dude. And he's a really good, knowledgeable coyote hunter, and he lived in Ohio. He would kill a handful of coyotes a year. And everybody knew it. It wasn't because of JD's experience, because he's a freaking one of the best coyote hunters I've ever known. But he was in Ohio, and it was just different there.
Yeah.
When they allowed night hunting with thermal, boys, the sink come on and the water started flowing. I mean, that guy is the killing of some bitch. And I'm not saying that he can't kill them in the daylight, because he can. He can kill them anywhere he wants to kill them, long as it ain't shitty. But that goes for everybody. Ohio is shitty. You can find pockets and kill them in the daytime. JD killed them in the daytime, but not like you do at night. And I don't want to hunt a coyote in the night, because they do tend to give up stuff in the night.
Right.
But one thing about thermal is, man, here in about another 10 years, we're going to be talking about how we got all these coyotes and none of them come to the call.
Yep.
Because
100%
if they don't come to the call in the daylight, due to pressure and all this other bullshit, how many years is it going to take with getting their asses handed to them in the dark to start just being a bunch of damn jackrabbits with teeth running around? That's how I look at it.
Yep. No, I agree with you. I completely agree with you there. And for me,
I'm not taking it from anybody though.
No, me either. But just the thing for me is, like, when I see one come in the daylight, like I get shoot one, coming to the call, and I get an excitement that is just next level, that will never be repeated with a thermal.
It's unreplicable. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't even explain it. Like I said that, after I got, I'm in a similar situation, obviously, being in the Midwest. Like, calling in the daylight's rough. It's tough, but you kill lots of them with a thermal, and it's great, and it's fine. You're killing them, but then as soon as I went back to kill one in the daylight, it just got me shook up, and I was like, oh, this is just something that I can never see ever giving up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take my thermal down to Texas, next month, and I don't know. I might use it, I might not. I don't really know. I do know one thing: I ain't taking my scope off my gun to put a thermal on it.
Yeah.
So I'll have to build me another gun or something. I don't know, but I'm not taking any. One thing I want to make clear for people that's listening, if you're a pro staffer and you're not making no money and they're giving you free calls, that's fine. If you're happy, I'm happy. If you're hunting coyotes at night with thermal and you're happy, then I'm happy.
Yep.
My job is to not put anybody down. My job is to not take anything away from anybody. We all gauge our success differently. And my success in the outdoor industry was gauged on business more than anything. And that's where a lot of people got me wrong. You know, people would bitch and moan and say, man, I put more fur, like Keith one time, man, I put more fur in a truck than you ever did. Well, I'm glad you do. I'm super glad. But, you know, I've made a living for 20 years doing this outdoor industry coyote stuff, and I'm super happy with that. And I just like being myself. I'm not for everybody. I know that. But I am truly sincere when I say I want everybody to kill coyotes. That's that simple.
Absolutely.
It's just a great way to live. It's a great way to love. I mean, I love coyotes, and I love killing coyotes. It's a weird relationship. I love them to death, but I will kill them some bitches every second I can. And, you know, I'm not going to take anything away from anybody, no matter how they do it. I mean, look at me. I've got a Kestrel and a ballistics program, and I've got scopes with designed reticles, and I've got a custom gun. I mean, there are guys that say, well, hell, anybody can shoot a deer at 1,000 yards if you got a nice scope and a ballistic, blah, blah. You know, yeah, you're probably right. If you practice good enough to shoot. I've never shot a deer at 1,000 yards, and I wouldn't shoot at one at 1,000 yards. I can about bet $100 bill I'll hit a dinger every time anywhere at 1,000 yards. But when you start hunting and start putting elements into it, it takes a long time to get good at shooting precisely at long distances, just like it takes a long time to kill coyotes precisely at any distance.
Right. Yep. I agree.
This cigar is really good.
Oh, I'm jealous. I got a question I'm sure everybody's burning to know. As a rifle builder, as a guy who's killed, you know, who knows how many coyotes in his life, but I'm sure you have it because obviously you're a rifle builder, so I assume you have this rifle or whatever. But if you're can you walk me through I will take this anywhere in the country and kill coyotes right now. This is what my rifle's going to be. What would it be?
Okay. So if I was going to go across the country right now and kill a coyote anywhere that I want, I would choose the rifle that I know the best and that I'm most accurate with. And when I say know the best, that means when I know my limits.
Yep.
I don't shoot coyotes at 500 yards. I sell hand calls for a living, so I call them in close. I have killed coyotes at 500 yards. When it counted, actually, during the World Championships, I needed that coyote. I killed one at 549. But I knew that gun. It was a factory gun. It shot very accurately. I knew my limits. I took the shot. I know my limits with my custom guns, and not every one of them is the same. Guns are like women. It takes a while to get to know them. It takes a while to figure out how to get along with them, and vice versa. If you're a woman predator hunter, then you're going to put yourself in your own shoes and be like, it takes a while to know a guy.
Yep.
You know, and so if I was going to go across the country and kill coyotes anywhere, and I was going to take a gun, I would take a gun that I'm most comfortable with and I know my limits. And I don't really care if it's a 300 ROM or a 22 Hornet. If you're comfortable with it and you're accurate with it and you know your limits, that's what I would use. Yes, I'm in the custom gun game, but I'm not a hard sell guy on the custom guns. My only hard sell on custom guns are if you buy let's say a $4,000 gun from me, or you buy a $2,000 factory gun, I promise you mine's going to be more consistent. Now, maybe you can shoot better than me, and maybe you're even more accurate than me with your factory rifle.
Yep.
But I've touched every part. I've fit the barrel. I've set the head space. I cut the tenon. I threaded it. I chambered it. I know this gun inside and out. I know every part inside and out. And my hard sell on custom guns is if it screws up tomorrow, well, first of all, I will never send a gun out that don't shoot. I've shot it. I've made sure it shoots good, and I made sure it's acceptable for what you bought, and it's out the door. So you won't have no problem. If you do develop a problem, it's probably not going to be the barrel part or the machining part or anything. So let's just say the bolt, maybe the bolt fell apart. There ain't much to fall apart on a bolt, but let's just say a bolt. My hard sell is you're going to be able to call me and say, Steve, my bolt just fell out of my gun in 20 pieces. And I'm going to say, you know what? Cool. You use the Zermatt action. I'm going to send you a bolt tomorrow. What? Yeah, you're fixed. Go kill shit.
Right.
You ain't ever going to find a factory. I don't care if it's Winchester, Remington, Ruger, Weatherby, anybody. You ain't going to find anybody. And it's not just me. It's any good, reputable gun builder will outperform a factory every time in the customer service category if it's a good, reputable gun builder. Now, if you get a jack off from Morgan like I did, then you're going to have some trouble. But it's still going to be better than the trouble you'll have with the factory because these guys are going to tell you your shit's good and send it back to you, and then you're going to have to spend another week and another couple $100 in ammo, figure out it ain't good, and then you're going to have to send it back, and then you're going to get in a situation that they're going to argue, and then they're going to be like, well, we're just going to put another barrel on it for you. That probably is not the fucking problem to begin with. You know, it's really hard to get a bad barrel, and people don't know it. But my hard sell on custom guns is I'm here to take care of you just like if it was a $20 hand call. If a reed falls out and breaks, I'm going to take care of it just like I would take care of you on a $4,000 rifle. And that's, you know, that's the same way with my Legend Precision Optic scopes. We got a lifetime warranty, and I don't say it on the LPO side like this because my partner and my marketing lady's trying to be a little more politically correct than me, but I say it has a Steve Criner warranty. If you throw that fucker off of a bridge and you're dumb enough to swim to the bottom to get that scope, send it back to me. I'll send you a new one. I don't give a shit how you tore it up. I just want you to kill stuff, and I want you to be successful, and I want you to tell everybody that I took care of you with a great product because that's how I sell stuff. And I'm one of the only TV guys in the world that will tell you I am trying to sell you something, period.
100%. I love it.
I mean, it's just the way the world works. I don't know what kind of, you know, these guys telling you to buy brand X calls. They I mean, they're not. I mean, come on. I mean, we're all doing this. We all have an agenda. There's some kind of agenda around everything. My agenda is being I want to be one of the best gun builders that has ever been, ever. Am I going to be one of the best? You know, who knows? Because I don't know how to gauge. You know, I don't know how to gauge the best. Best is a hard word. Is a harsh word. You know, a lot of people say Fox Pro is the best e-caller. Well, that may be their opinion, but Lucky Duck's pretty damn good, and Icotech's pretty damn good. Canati Tech, people never even fucking heard of nowadays. It was probably one of the best. You know, I mean, there's just so much to the word best that I really try not to use it. I want to be one of the best, and I think I could be one of the best gun builders because I pay attention to detail and I do it right. After that, I'm never going to win a world championship PRS match. Never going to win it. Well, I might win a world champion NRH match or whatever the hell they call them, you know, the hunter matches. You know, I'd like to get into that. So, you know, people might see me playing in that game a little bit here before long. I don't know. Depends on my time. I don't have a lot of time. So, But yeah, I just, you know, if you can't admit to your people that you're trying to sell them something, you're lying right out of the gate. You know? And the only way to do that is honestly. I mean, if you do it, if you bullshit somebody to sell them something, it's going to backfire on you. I've been young before, and I don't mean by age. I mean young in the industry, young and whatever you do in life. If you don't get the experience that you need, you don't really know what you're doing. So when I first started playing this game, you know, I was like, people would say, hey, what call you use? I use the Johnny Stewart this, the Johnny Stewart that, I said Johnny Stewart as much as I could, because I do know common marketing is, our job as marketing guys is to brand that in your eyes. That's why it's called a brand. And I brand cattle. I still do a lot of cowboying. I brand cattle every spring. And when I put that brand, actually I don't do it. The rancher, the head of the ranch does, the owner, he's the one that brands shit. So when he's branding that, like, it's on that calf forever. And my job as a marketing guy is to brand a brand in your eyeballs. That way, when you go to shelf, you have enough knowledge to make a good decision. And hopefully with that brand branded in your eyeballs, you're going to make the decision that I would like you to make as a sales guy.
Right.
But
yeah. That makes sense to me.
There's just so much to this industry. I mean, it's just not killing coyotes in my shoes. I'm not your typical podcast guy, maybe, because everybody wants to tell you how they make stands and what calls they use. And, brand X is the best thing. I'm not I don't even say my brand is the best thing ever. I just know that I build a badass gun and my hand calls kill a lot of shit. And,
Yeah. And what more could you want than that?
Well, I don't really know how to say it. And that's probably why I've done. I have a fairly good following. That following, I don't even like the word following. It makes me feel like people are putting me on a pedestal. I don't like being on a pedestal. I just like being the life of the party, and it's fun. And I'm so addicted to success, not my success, but others' success. Like, man, when I see somebody shoot a big deer, or like, for instance, I built a few guns now that they pop their cherries on mountain goats and bighorn sheep.
Right.
That is a lifetime tag for some people. They'll never get another chance. And when they come to me and say, Steve, like out west, when people draw a bighorn sheep tag, they like, I want to build a gun for it. I want to buy new clothes for it. I want to buy a new pack saddle. I'm going to buy a new horse. It's a life-changing event to some people, some of these hunts, whether it's a coyote or bighorn sheep. You never know. But when somebody comes to me and says, I drew a bighorn sheep tag and I'm 44 years old and this is it, I want you to build me a gun that I can trust, that I can believe in, that's accurate, and that I can shoot. First of all, it puts a lot of pressure on me, which I love.
Yeah.
I really like that. I'm like the battered woman that won't leave a bad relationship, You get beat up and beat up and beat up, and you just kind of crave it. When somebody throws something in my lap like that, like, listen, I draw the lifetime tag, and I want you to build me the gun that I'm going to kill this sheep with. And then you got to build the gun, and then you shoot the first shot, which is going to be great. But then that second shot, that's your stress levels go up. The third shot, your stress levels go even higher. Now I've stacked 3. Your fourth shot, holy shit, is this even really possible? Boom, you've stacked 4, and then now you got to put one more in there to prove that you built that gun the best you can build it. And then you do it. And then you've succeeded. And then you have to pass the gun off to the owner and make goddamn sure that he can shoot that gun as good as you can, because he just put the most thing he's craved his whole life, he just put you in his hands.
Right.
So there's a big job to gun building or coyote calling or building coyote calls.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's a $30 hand call, I mean, that's a lot of money to people. $30 is a lot of money to me. If I'm going to buy a $30 hand call, it better be a good fucking hand call.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's a tool that's essentially, especially the gun. And the hand call. What if a guy only has one hand call, right? And if he goes out there and it doesn't work, obviously you'd be, you'd feel bad and you'd whatever, but that's the tool that they're relying on for their success almost.
Yeah, I remember back when I first started this, there wasn't so much online content out there. So I would spend hours on the phone a week, and my wife would get mad at me because I was spending so much time with people I didn't even know. They would buy a Johnny Stewart call and they're like, how do I blow this? I'm like, well, you blow in it. That's the smart ass answer. But I I would actually give people my phone number, and my phone number is on my website. Find another TV guy that believes in people enough to do that.
Yeah.
And it's my cell phone number, and I answer the phone, and this shit is important to me. And the reason why, because if you call me, just for example, the other day, a guy called me and said, yeah, I see you have Graybow terrain stocks on boltrifle.com. Yes, sir. And he's just quiet for a minute, and he goes, is that M5 bottom metal? And I said, yes, sir. He goes, oh, okay. Yeah. Is this Steve Criner? And I'm like, yes, sir. And man, this guy spent 5 minutes talking about how he couldn't believe I answered the phone. He knew I owned boltrifle.com, but he didn't really know I, ran it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, what kind of a shithead would I be if people's buying stuff off of me and I won't even talk to them?
Right.
And I never, out of 200 and some guns, I've never took in a payment, but maybe 2 or 3 times without talking to people. And usually it was over like, well, my son's sitting here and this is Christmas present. I can't talk. Okay, well, we'll just do it on text, and I do everything when I start a gun build. I do everything on text, so we both have a paper trail. It's safe for you and it's safe for me. Yep. That way, if you get a gun that, well, man, this was supposed to have 25 sling studs on the right side so I could scrape my nuts with them every, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, your text said only 10, So, we do everything on text, get everything, so we have a paper trail all the way down to the nut cutting. And then I'm like, usually it's, well, how do I pay you? Well, call me first. Because I do want to get to know people, and I want them to get to know me, and I want to, like, $4,000 is a lot of money, and that's typically what a build costs. There's guys out there building them a little cheaper, I see, but that probably won't happen. I go through my parts pretty fast, and they're like commodities, so they raise up a little bit. So, but if somebody's going to give you $4,000, shouldn't there be enough? Or let's change the tables. If somebody's going to give you $30 for a hand call, and you won't answer their message on, hey, can you do a video? I did a video the other day on the Blood Red Jack just because a guy asked me if I could do a video on the Blood Red Jack and show him how to use it. I'm like, yeah, I'll get one up for you today. And, and I send personal stuff, sometimes they're like, man, how do you do that sound? And I'll just be like, hey, I'll shoot you a video real quick, and it's overwhelming. But I signed up for this circus, how I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And that's obviously what sets you apart and is going to continue your success forward and hopefully spread your name farther and wider and keep you building rifles for as long as you want to build them.
Man, I'm probably going to do all right in the rifle business. The word of mouth is really great in the rifle business. People take a real fancy gun to the range and they're shooting bug hole groups, and then their buddies are like, who built that? I mean, that's how that works. The coyote deal, I hope coyotecalls.com stays alive forever. And, I sell a couple thousand hand calls a year, and I hope that people keep buying them and keep, I want to support them with a good product, and I want them to support me with money. And that's just how sales works. But the coyote deal, the worst fear I ever had was, being forgotten. And I've come to the fact, I'm going to be forgotten probably by a lot of people in the industry, but this is such a recyclable market that, there's going to be people that are going to be very successful in this business. They're going to be very successful in the coyote killing part of the business. And they might even be on TV for a long time, and they ain't ever going to know who Dog Soldier or Steve Criner or any of the regulators was.
Yeah.
And that's fine with me. I have nothing to prove to anybody anymore. I won. I made a good living, and I have a good career. And I was successful with the TV deal. I tell everybody I retired because I did it almost 20 years, and I think you're supposed to retire after that. I just tell everybody I retired, makes me feel better. But
Yeah.
Really, I just felt like TV was a bad spin and a waste of my time anymore. And probably not, since Facebook squashed me. I probably should be back on TV, but man, I'm trying to enjoy what I didn't enjoy for the last 20 years, which is just living.
Yeah.
And what that dude on Facebook, LIVIN, living.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I don't know what else is out there for us. We just got to live and have fun and do the best we can do, and just keep rolling.
Yeah.
That's all we can do.
I totally agree. And I think this is a heck of a spot for us to finish this up. And I just want to thank you for your time and joining me for this. And I'm sure everybody's going to enjoy this listen as much as I enjoyed talking to you. And I'm going to leave all your information in the description and stuff below, so people can find bulletrifles.com and your hand calls, your optics, your scopes, and hopefully if people haven't heard of you, they can go and find YouTube videos and watch some old Steve Criner pounding coyotes.
Yeah.
And hopefully learn something from you.
Yeah, hopefully. They might just think I'm an arrogant prick. But that's fine too. They'll learn something if they just look past the white trash hillbilly and just focus a little bit on learning and just got to concentrate on failure, man, because if you don't fail, you don't know how to handle it. You got to turn it into a positive. It don't matter what products you use. It don't matter what you do. You just, whether you gauge success on kills or good time, you just got to figure that part out first, and then you got to start implementing the tools of woodsmanship to be successful.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. So thank you, Steve. And I'll make sure to put everything below, and people can get a hold of you if they want to.
Heck yeah, man. And you're welcome to call me anytime, and we can do, next time if you want to do a podcast, you can tell me, hey, let's not talk about industry shit. Let's talk about calling bobcats or something. Hell, I don't give a shit.
Hey, we didn't even talk about what we were going to talk about before this. This is just what happened. So
I don't even know what we were supposed to talk about.
Nope, this is exactly perfect. So this is awesome.
Yeah, sweet. Well, heck yeah, I appreciate you letting me be a part of your deal.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. I know we're all busy, and you especially. So I appreciate you taking some time to talk with me.
All right, man. Take it easy.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Predator Podcast. I'm very thankful that Steve was able to join me. That was a great episode, and it was fun for me to record that. He was somebody that I sort of idolized growing up, watching his shows, and like I said, kind of always viewed him as the dog soldier, and still do to this day. So you guys will check him out if you're in the market for a custom rifle. Maybe check Steve out. He's got scopes, he's got rifles, he's got it all. Hand calls, check it out. I'll put links in the description below, so you guys can go give it a look, and maybe he can hook you up. So appreciate you guys listening, and as always, find me on Instagram, Predator Podcast _Drew. You guys can check out my YouTube channel, subscribe. I'm going to be putting more and more video content up on there for you. So yeah, check it out. All good stuff. Hope everybody's out there killing coyotes or bobcats or whatever you are hunting. So we'll be back next week for another episode of the Predator Podcast. And until then, shoot straight.